All right, we are recording. So if you don't want to be recorded, keep off camera or check out another room and come back and watch the recording. And I want to welcome our presenters from Bass Schuler Entertainment. Sue, you said you and Rachel are going to be talking to us about what's working for virtual, what kinds of things that you've been doing, and you want this kind of to be a conversation. You can answer questions, and if we want to see like a picture, you can probably pull it up off of your computer, but otherwise you don't have like a set PowerPoint or anything. We're just going to talk, right?
Yeah, I'm a pretty casual person by nature, and so I definitely like to keep it open and have a conversation about what's going well and where the sticking points are, and if we can help in any way, then let's talk about best practices and that kind of thing. So
All right,
awesome,
well,
great.
then why don't we start with you kind of telling us what you've been what how have things changed? Like what were people asking for, or what were you offering towards the beginning when we started all going virtual? And have you seen any changes along the way?
Absolutely. So Bachelor Entertainment, it's a full service talent agency. So we do everything from speakers to comedians to musicians to all sorts of, weird jugglers and stilt walkers or whatever it is that you need. And I think the biggest thing that's changed is the acceptance and the embracing of what virtual can be. And my like COVID silver lining out of all of it is just the insane amount of creativity that has come out of it. We're seeing people, we work with a beatboxing looping artist who is unbelievable live, but he's like taken everything in his live show and been able to move it to virtual and is interacting with the crowd in ways that he never has before and utilizing voices and putting them into his beats. And it's just been a really cool thing to watch people evolve into that and learn more about just learn more about how it can work for them and work really well depending on company culture or what it is that your audience is really looking for.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Sue, I know that, I get the pleasure of not just getting to work with Sue, but also to work for some of Sue's clients. And Sue, going through, you have a huge background in booking just in general. You've been in the industry, almost not to try and age you, but, 2 decades ish,
20
right?
years.
Yeah, no big deal. She keeps it useful. But when you look at, you understand a lot of background around planners, what they're looking for, and also too kind of jaded audiences, because you have a deep background in keeping like basically 18 to 24-year-olds engaged on the college market as well. When
Yeah.
it comes to the kind of cardinal things that you think that either entertainers or virtual events need right now, what do you think keeps people who are like, ugh, Zoom, or like feeling that fatigue? What do you think are some aspects of like what people, when you're looking to book entertainers, what makes them like craveable or watchable? Like what brings them in?
I think the big thing right now is being able to detach from reality a little bit and like get sucked into this new space that whether it is something you've never seen before or it puts your brain in a different direction. So maybe it's trivia or maybe it's like a silly game show or maybe it is an escape room online. I think that's one of the cool things that's come out of this too is not having to go into an escape room but still taking all of the things that go well about an escape room and putting it in a Google Drive and you can open it up in a Zoom and again you're escaping that reality of I've got to plan my dinner and my all of the normal things that are going on. But I do think it's that ability for people to grab attention quickly, obviously, but then also be able to take that and turn that into a unique experience that people are going to be talking about later on
Yeah.
because it was so different from what normal life is.
I love that. And I got to tell you, I mean, we work together a lot, but it's one of those things where you say escape reality and I like feel it in my bones. I'm like, yes, I would love, an entertainer or like part of the conferences. Like I might be a great keynoter and like a keynoter should make you feel, seen and, create emotions and give you takeaways. But when it does come to entertainment, at least in the online events that I've been seeing, it's kind of like, okay, well, we know like music is like good, so maybe we'll like toss in a DJ. But what you're saying is like that transportation side of things, where it's just like it's either so different, it makes you think, wait, what's that? Or it might be something where it strikes in that competitiveness. Like when I will tell you, every escape room I've ever gone to, except for one with my family, I remember being like, ugh, all these other people are like distracting me, so I can't figure it out. AKA, it was really me not being able to figure it out, right? Um, but when it comes to, this side of things and working with, whether it's corporate events or things like that, how do you feel like interaction? Like, what are the benefits if you were to do, like, I know I put sung beats in the chat. When it
Mhm.
comes to entertainers, how do you think that like helps bonding? Like, are you seeing anything virtually where your acts, like whether it's comedians or mentalists or whatever, that they bring people in on the interaction? Because engagement's huge.
Oh, absolutely. I think as much as the escaping reality piece of it is important, I also think that there is a lot of importance in common bond and making you feel like the olden times, like the pre-COVID days. So whether that's you're doing a happy hour and you've got a musician that's there, because normally when you did a happy hour before, you would take everybody to a bar and whatever it might be, and watch live music. I think that shared experience is really important too. And so with that, whether it is a comedian, there's all sorts of great different types of comedy acts. If it's a magician, and making it more family friendly, so maybe it's a matter of like, hey, let's invite everybody's families because we want to give everybody something to do with them, because they're so stuck in this Groundhog's Day of, we get up, we do this, we do that, and then we do it all over again the next day. If it's something that we can make family friendly, we want to be able to do that. If it's something where you want to escape your family, great. There's an audience for everybody. So
That's
whatever
true.
it is, Tanya and I were talking about kids earlier, and if it's a matter of like, hey, let's include this so that then we can have that as an experience to share later, then that's great.
I love that. And yeah, when it comes to like that interaction side, one of the things that I had seen was one of your acts, which is Philip Michael Scales. One thing that he did that I mean, I have attended at this point, I've worked at about 100 virtual events and then maybe attended about 25 more than that, just as a guest, a participant like right now. But when it comes to Philip, one thing that he did differently was he like shouted out people in the chat. Like he'd be singing and then it'd be like, I see you out there, Sue. And then he would like keep going with the song. And to me, that acknowledgement was like, I don't know, it did make me feel seen and connected and things like that. When it comes to the mentalist side of things and like the
Mhm.
magic side of things, I just have to ask out loud, how is that not corny or weird virtually? How does that work?
Oh, it totally depends on your performer, because it can be corny and weird, both.
Okay.
But I
Good
think
to know.
if if you work with somebody that you trust, somebody who's got a lot of experience, somebody who fits your company demographic, like whatever it might be, or your audience demographic, I should say, I think that those are really important things to consider. So if you're hitting a younger audience, then you should have a younger performer. If you're, looking at an audience that's, 50 plus, then maybe that doesn't connect as well, because they might not have the right, examples or whatever it might be. But I think that, whether it be magic or mentalism or whatever it might be, in the virtual space, their ability to chat and to bring people in and still utilize volunteers in the virtual space is
Mm.
really mind-blowing, and to be able to take that and run with it is really kind of cool, because um that is something that once you get back to the water cooler, you're still going to discuss at the water cooler type situation, so I
Totally.
think that's a fun one too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think when I think about magician, I think about this guy who's here in Charlotte. That's where I am, in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he goes by the name Magic Berry. And Magic Berry is probably about 75 years old and wears like a polka dotted suit. And so when I saw your lineup of like mentalists and magicians, I was like, oh, these are like guys my age. Like they look like they
Yeah.
would be like a guy I'd have like a beer with, and you have so many diverse like people in your lineup. You've got, LGBTQAI plus folks. You've got, people of color, I mean, you have some slam poet winners, which when it comes to, things like let's take comedians, for example.
Mhm.
When you book a comedian for an event, one question that I would have would be like, how do you make sure that their material is like can they customize their material to the audience? And how do you make sure that they're not like offensive? Is that, I mean, we have to worry about that. But you have a lot of experience because you work with not just corporate, but you work with the education market, and they're really sensitive to
Yeah.
like inclusion and really kind of leading the way. So how do you do that from like a meeting planner or event planner perspective?
I would say a little secret from an event planner perspective is if the performer has performed on Disney cruises, they are squeaky, squeaky, squeaky clean. So
Okay.
they put on, Disney takes the best of the best. And so that is a great credit to be looking for if that's the type of act that you're looking for from an event planner's perspective. We work with a juggler by the name of Marcus Monroe, who is hysterical and awkward and so quirky and funny, but like a really amazing juggler. And he's a Disney cruise performer, so it can be completely squeaky clean. If he goes anywhere, it's going to be like PG-13, and that's it. But I think that those are things that right now, especially knowing that a lot of people are working from home, and when the families are maybe around, I think it's important to have that conversation with whomever it is that you're booking with, so that you can write it into the contract if you need to. Like, there's Wild West out here, friends. It's
Yeah.
whatever whatever you need.
Yeah.
People
I think
want to make that work.
that's super smart. I see Carrie in the chat. She says,
Mhm.
when booking, how can you ensure they're tech savvy? Gosh, Carrie, great question. And truly engaged. So many great in person speakers don't translate well virtually. Oh, amen. We've all been victim to that.
Yeah. I think Carrie, one thing to do too with that is ask for either referrals. So who have you been working with? Who, like, give me your last 3 clients and let me contact them. Do you have testimonials? And can I just see some footage of what it looks like virtually? Because coming to you live from the Marriott parking lot is not okay with a sketch internet connection. But if you look like Rachel in her office there with the lights and the Christmas tree and everything else, that looks great. So I think, yeah, I think asking for additional information if you don't see it up front is really, really important.
Yeah, so you bring up a great point too, because Carrie, this is an awesome question because it used to be that in, like BC before Corona, right? Before COVID, we would, like as a keynote speaker myself and an MC, I would send out my reel and I would say, like this doesn't translate. Like if you like this, it's even better in person. Well, we don't like, there's no missing that, right? So what I would say too, just like for anyone who's out there, like Josie, who just joined us, she is all over YouTube with her Josie's Kitchen, which is later today at this event. But, like YouTube, it's free to sign up. It's quick to upload. And if they don't have their stuff where you could search them on YouTube, that would be something like, even if you have favorite speakers you've worked with in the past, I would say encourage them to upload it. Like me, what I went ahead and did. Now, have I ever had a YouTube channel beforehand? No, but I got time now. And so I've got, my MC examples. I've got longer keynote examples. And they're a lot of them are from home. Some of them are, parsed from old footage, but the proof should be there because I agree with you. It's more important than ever to get some like footage. I will also toss out too. Sue mentioned Marcus Monroe. I saw Marcus. So mind you, this is a comedian juggler. And I cannot tell y'all how much of an eye roll when you put those two words together. I'm like, sure, this is going to be cute. I cried. I cried at Marcus's set. And actually I'll drop the link in YouTube, or Sue, I don't know if you want to show it.
Yeah.
But one cool thing that Sue and Bash Schuler does is they do these showcases, and they're just 5 minutes of different acts, which I really like. And then it's hosted on YouTube. And the long story short of it is, so Marcus is like the last guy on here. And I have watched that same performance. Like I've sent it to people and watched them or screen shared it. I made my husband watch it in bed, and I was dying all over because it's so like awkward and funny, and he is so like awkward and funny. It is absolutely hysterical. So anyway, I hired him for my own party. That's how much I like him. Oh yeah, there's Marcus's link. Oh, he's so funny. So please enjoy. Great question, Carrie. And so if y'all do have questions, put them in for Sue. One question that I had, so I guess it goes on the opposite side of things, is when you work with entertainers, whether it's, comedians or magicians, mentalists, those kinds of things, you mentioned, crowd interaction and things like that. Do you have any ideas on performers that really kind of like build things like, or like have like deep interaction with the crowd, whether it's like their whole thing is to create something together? Like I saw, I think it was one of your magicians or musicians, they created like a song with people. Do you have acts like that too? Like, or what have you seen that works well?
Yeah, I mean, Sung does that. Sung Beats, the beatboxing looper that I talked about earlier. He does that where he's going to incorporate folks in that. I would say that the mentalists are probably the biggest ones to utilize the volunteers and bring them into the performance. We also work with a trivia game show called Nerdology. And so that is something that's fun because you can play it as a team, but then while they're tabulating scores, they'll bring people in. They use a webinar format on Zoom, and then they'll bring people in from the audience onto the webinar, and they do nerd alerts. And so during the nerd alert, they're like maybe going back and forth on Marvel movies and who can name more Marvel movies back and forth between the two participants or that kind of thing. So they're still involving the crowd. I think one of the things that is always a trick on Zoom is, people that either have 1,000 other things going on. So they're just like, not today. The camera's not going on today. I'm sorry, but there was not enough dry shampoo in my house to take care of this today. Or whether it's, just it's not going to happen today. And so while those people are still fully engaged, they might not want to engage fully on camera in front of everybody else at that point. And so I think that being able to utilize both the people that want to do that, but not having to have everybody be there. I'm the person at a casino that doesn't want to play, but I do want to watch. I think that's just as much fun. And so,
I think we call that a voyeur.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that's voyeurism. Don't Google it. Don't Google it. That's where we're. I love it.
Yeah. But I mean, takes all kinds, right?
Totally. And Tanya's got a great question as well. She asks, what kind of acts don't translate well to virtual? If our client comes to us and suggests it, what kind of acts should we try and maybe steer them away from or turn them away from?
You'll hear most people answer that with comedy. Comedy doesn't work virtually. I beg to differ because I think that if they have the right act or it's the right type of comedy, it can work really, really well virtually. And so I don't know that there is like one genre or anything like that you would say like, no, we don't want to do that. I think it really comes down more to the audience and what the audience needs and what the audience is looking for. because maybe it's a, rowdy group of 24 to 35-year-olds that do enjoy a good raunchy comedian, or maybe it's a clean comedian, I don't know, whatever. But I think that it's way more about what the audience's needs and wants are than it is this genre of performer or that kind of thing. I
That's a
would
good
say the
point.
bigger thing with that, Tanya, is to say making sure that they have a good virtual resume.
Yeah, the
Especially now.
more
I mean, people
the
have
more
had almost a
experience.
year to be perfecting this, right? So now I think the expectation should be far different than they were in April.
Yeah, for sure. And
You
yeah,
have
to your point, Sue, the
oh,
more oh,
I think,
sorry.
sorry, Rachel, I didn't mean to cut you off.
are you coming? Are you having talent come to you Zoom ready or virtual ready, or are you helping them get virtual ready?
I was helping them get virtual ready when it all went down. And now I have my talent virtually ready at any point to go out and perform. So I would say it's not an in process anymore. It's they're all there now.
Yeah. And I will say too, one thing that's interesting. So, I think on the speaker side of things, normally, speakers go through a bureau. I'm personally not part of a bureau, but I do partner with Sue and her company on the education market. And one of the cool things about that is that Sue really differs from that because what they do a lot of times is they'll do collective meetings. One actually was yesterday, and where we all get together and we share best practices and we say what's going on and we do some training. So Sue, early on, we partnered together and we did something about creating a setup like this. And even, and this is said with so much love and respect. I mean, we might have had 100 guys on there that were in an apartment that had no art hanging, because they're comedians and they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm funny. And you're like, yeah, but it's ugly. So like, let's like judge this. And so we went through and really helped. But it is kind of that like collectiveness as well. I would say one of the things that, some of the acts that Sue represents, and I know I do this as well, but, we'll customize the background to be different pieces and colors to kind of incorporate. That's always something I think, when you're booking virtual folks, ask them to wear your company colors, ask them to bring in themed props, ask them, what are the ways that they can represent your company. I will share with you, lots of organizations. This is a little pin I got for the Healthcare Business Women's Association. So every time I was on, I did a conference MC gig for them. And every time I was on screen, I would have the pin. And it's a small thing, but I'm doing University of Wyoming thanks to Sue. And there are the pokes. That's like their motto or logo. So, I got a big old sweatshirt coming to me that says "Go Pokes," which I can't wait to wear and have like people in real life, in like day-to-day life see me with that. That's going to ask some questions. But Sue, I would probably ask before I really turn it back over. If you have questions, put it in the chat. But when it comes to, I actually have two questions. Can you tell us a little bit about something I did not expect to actually translate, but caricature artists and how that works in the virtual world?
That caricature artists or virtual palm readers, that kind of stuff is a really, really fun addition to any sort of like networking or happy hour or that kind of thing that you might be doing. They've got their virtual setup. They use a Dropbox, so you can download it and then re-upload it, to whatever social media platforms you might, maybe not your LinkedIn profile picture, but, like if you're able, it's fun. They can do your dog, they can do, your family, whatever it is, but the virtual caricatures have been really, really popular, and they know that it's, not the Mona Lisa. And so it's a, 3 to 5 minute thing that everybody can kind of sit there and hang out and chat. And the caricature artist you're watching the drawing happen on the screen, which is kind of cool too.
Yeah.
So that one's been really fun.
And you can hire, the way I saw it with you all during the showcase was you can hire multiple artists and be in different breakout rooms. And
Mhm.
so like if you had maybe like 100 people to go through, you know, you could have so many different artists and everybody's kind of like hanging out and watching it happen, but you could visit different things. So it could be like one of the things and you could have a palm reader and then, you know, maybe a comedian or trivia, or, you know, in different rounds and stuff like that. So I think my final question would just be, you know, if you could recommend a comedian, a musician, and maybe like a team building act, that if we were going to Google three things, which ones would you recommend that'd be great for like corporate audiences?
Yeah. Okay. So musician, oh gosh, they're all good. Philip Michael Scales is probably the one I would recommend. He's got a really smooth voice. He does a lot of covers. So it's
He's
kind of,
BB
it can
King's
be
grandson.
BB
I
King's
learned recently.
grandson.
Yeah,
Very
that's pretty
cool.
cool.
But he's one that does a lot of different types of music, and so it's fun and to hear all of that happening. If you're looking at comedy, if you're looking just straight stand up, I would say probably Mike Kaplan or Jeff Sheen. Both of them are super funny guys, really goofy. Mike has a lot of the late night credits and that kind of thing for people that would be able to see. And then Jeff is just kind of that like awkward nerdy guy that is super super funny and very clean and appropriate for whatever audience you want. And then if you're doing team building, really the most popular ones have been the escape rooms. We do a lot of different themes for escape rooms. So like there's even a holiday theme one for right here before the holidays where you overslept and you're late to get the meal together. And so
Oh my God.
you're in trouble if you don't get out, meal's not going to get done and on the table. And then, there's other ones that are just a little more general themed. And then nerdology has been really, really popular too for people that don't just want to do Kahoot trivia. Kahoot, if you're not familiar, is a really easy downloadable app that can be free. It's got a paid version as well, but that's if you want to make your own. But nerdology is kind of that 4-round bar trivia type feel with those nerd alerts in between that are a lot of fun. And it's hosted by 2 professional comedians, so it's very funny too.
Love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's all I've got for you, Sue. I
Yep.
honestly, I love hearing you talk about the acts because as somebody who, you know, like I love doing a great job. I think all of us love doing a great job for virtual events. But then we also want to be able to either hire or refer acts that are like they keep the fun going. Like, you know, when you see somebody, I mean, we see it a lot right now, but you know, you have like the virtual maybe speaker or presenter and you're like, "Oh, this person's awesome." And then like the next speaker comes up and you're like, no, where's the energy? Like, no, you know? And it sucks. I'll just admit myself, as somebody who like never watched the person that goes on in front of you, like, you know, basically treat everything like American Idol. I'm like, no, I don't want to know my competition. In the virtual space, you see who's going on in front of you, you know? So
Mhm.
being able to help planners create a cohesive energy. Awesome.
Yeah.
Josie, go. I see you.
Okay, you're now making me nervous because I'm going at 5 o'clock Eastern
No,
time.
you're gonna crush it. Josie, please.
Just
I
remind
can't
people have
I'll
their
be
wine.
there. Yeah, the wine always makes it, listen, Josie, even sometimes it makes it into the food, I've heard. But I'll be
Yes.
there for
It was
Josie's. Yeah, if you
vodka last
haven't
night.
last night, I love it.
Big vodka, I love. Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, I love it. I'm gonna actually drop Josie's link in there. Josie's Kitchen. Y'all gotta YouTube it. It's so good.
Josie's Fun Kitchen because we always have fun in my kitchen.
Yes.
Mm,
That goes without saying for sure. There's Josie's link right there in the chat.
that's
So, okay,
awesome.
cool. Sue,
Not
any
always fun
final
in my
thoughts?
kitchen. That's all. Anybody else have questions or anything?
You know, I'm gonna. I came in late because I had to run up and get a certain ingredient because Carrie Abernathy asked me to make something, and I'm gonna make what she asked. So I had to run up to the store, and that's why why I was a little late because I wanted to see this. So I'm going to look you up, I guess, or if you can send me a link for you guys, just because I missed the first 15 minutes and it seemed really interesting.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay. See you guys later.
Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah, and the recordings will all be online for everyone. So whatever you missed, you can come back and watch the whole thing again, and any other rooms. So thank you, everyone, and thank you, Sue, and thank you, Rachel,
you.
for helping. And you can all go on and learn something else now. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate
Thanks,
you. Great
Tanya,
job,
appreciate
Sue.
it. Thank you.
y'all.
See ya.